I feel the need for an ocean movie conversion. Back when I reviewed The Spy Who Loved Me, I lamented the fact that it wasn't Ocean who did the conversion, it was Domark, and thus they completely wasted it. But people forget, of course, including me, that in the earlier days, when Ocean started licensing things could be a little bit different. This is Top Gun, a conversion of the movie, Tom Cruise and Kelly McGillis on the title screen. I say it's them, it doesn't really look like Tom Cruise, even with all the intervening years. But still, the loading screen evokes the movie, so that's a good start. And we get the Top Gun logo on the screen here, and 1 or 2 player. Yes, you can play 2 player head to head. So here we go, into the danger zone. And we take off from the carrier. You know Top Gun, it's the movie with all the planes and stuff. And oh dear, we go from a rather multicoloured environment to a black and white one. I'm on the left, the computer is on the right. You can play 2 player head to head on the same computer. And the only way you know which is the sky and which is the ground is by using the instruments. You can see the other plane as a dot on your head-up display there, your kind of radar thing. And the idea is to blow them out of the sky, either with your cannon, which can overheat, or missiles. So I'm just trying to find the enemy plane here. There he is. Start shooting at him with the cannon. And as you can see, it's Elite-style vector graphics. It moves quite fast. This is quite a impressive game in terms of speed, although you'll quickly see the physics with my plane there on the other plane. I'm being shot at there. You can see that the physics aren't particularly good. They planes kind of appear to spin one way then the other with no frames of animation in between. Well, I've got a lock on. I'm going to blast him out the sky with a missile. You also have flares when the enemy aims missiles at you, so he misses you. So I'm circling. There's no sound, no aircraft noises. You can speed up and slow down, and you can select which weapon you want and drop a flare. You don't suddenly take on 2 planes, 3 planes, 4 planes. No, this is it. The computer players get harder and harder, but you only ever face down 1 plane. There are no different types of targets. It's just man on man in the sky with the smell of cordite and kerosene. Would you be using cordite? Yeah, I think so. I'm using an allegory. And here's the C64 version, which gets this nice loading screen as well. You don't get Tom on the loading screen, but you do get that. An assertive ocean-style menu piece of music here. And we take off from the carrier. It doesn't look as quite good on as the Amstrad version taking off. And yes, we will have noticed the frame rate is and yeah, you can see the frame rate isn't so good. It's not so much 2 fighter jets as 2 jumbo 747s shooting each other. And off we go again. Yeah, it's it's very jerky here on the C64. And any kind of sense of urgency from the CPC version is completely lost. Although it's just as basic. Still no music or anything. When you're fighting, you want some kind of thrusting music, some fighter jet music. American rock, that's what you want. Spectrum version. Select a joystick. There's also a PC version of this. I won't be showing that today for reasons that are pretty obvious. It's the same as all these other versions. except in CGA. And frankly, I'm not going to the garage, getting the Amstrad out and setting it all up and spending all that time just to show you exactly the same as these versions. That's attractive. That's a very attractive screen there on the Spectrum. And we're back to a reasonable frame rate. On all these versions we've seen so far, the controls auto center. So it always goes back. If you let go of left or right, it goes back to horizontal. But the way it does that on the C64 is by far the worst. Feels like you're fighting the controls the entire time. So that's one plane taken out on the Specky. You mustn't crash into the ground. You've got your height on the top left there of each screen. So 12,000 feet. I assume it must be feet, yes. And some other details. I'm not quite sure what those other numbers are. The missiles and cannon are unlimited, but the cannon can basically overheats if you hold it down more than a few seconds. Presumably because they realised it was too easy to shoot the enemy out of the sky without some kind of restriction. It's a nice idea. But and it's vector graphics, but there's a complete lack of variety here. You can have fun playing this with a friend, more fun than playing it against a computer, but it's like those PD tank games you saw on the Amiga where there's just two of you and you went around and shot each other in 3D. There's an Atari ST version. I couldn't get this to work. All the versions were corrupted, but thankfully an unnamed person on the ChinnyVision Discord, who just happens to be an ex-member of an Atari ST cracking team, cracked me a new version, so thank you to him. Won't reveal his name, but it is much appreciated. Now, there may be a slight frame rate discrepancy here because I'm running a 60Hz version of this game and I'm having to put it back into a 50Hz timeline, so... But, really, looking at the state of this, I mean, if we've lost a frame a second or the sound is slightly distorted, frankly, it's not going to matter because this is a 16-bit game and aside from the better frame rate, there's nothing more than those Spectrum or Amstrad versions here. Nothing at all for a full-price 16-bit game. How cheated would you have felt with this? It's appalling. It's absolutely terrible. It's one of those things where people used to show off their 16-bit machines, and I used to say, well, yeah, but the games are quite often hardly any better, and this is a prime example of an early 16-bit game where people get worked up because it had a better frame rate, but it's trash, it's rubbish, it's awful. They haven't even... They could... I mean, what... How have they... Why are we still running in two colours on an ST? Why? You can understand it on the Spectrum. You can kind of understand it on the Amstrad. Speaking of which, we're back on the CPC. The editor of Amstrad Computer User said the screen there was gorgeous. Yeah... I mean, Simon Rockman did a 2-page review of the game, presumably as an exclusive, and doesn't really mention anything about how bad the game is or anything at all. He describes what the game is and goes into great detail how to play it and lots of tips, but he reserves giving judgment on it for his cover feature that month, which is somewhat telling. Perhaps he didn't want to offend Ocean, so he didn't get any more exclusives. So it gets a little bit harder with each level. The enemy plane becomes more tenacious, will launch more missiles at you. You need to employ more tactics. And yeah, there are tactics involved. You need to try and steer away from the enemy and also get up higher than them and dive down on them. The problem is, because the physics are so dodgy, quite often what happens is you basically end up fighting at incredibly close quarters and not being able to see each other. Because, of course, in real life, Fighter jets don't fight like this. This is effectively, we're fighting like it's a World War II plane, a Spitfire or something. Slow speeds, head to head. The reality is, in a modern fighter jet, you're shooting missiles from miles away. You're not engaging cannons from close up. For a start, the speeds are far. Why am I overanalyzing this? The computer's employing his pea shooter against me. It's nice being able to see the enemy player of the computer, because it actually helps with your tactics. You can see if he's locked on, because by goodness me, you're going to get no idea just looking at your window. Perhaps if you're playing with a friend, you could put a piece of cardboard down the middle of the screen so you can't see what your friend's doing. It's suddenly come back to me that I actually bought this game on budget and was so unimpressed, and this is a common story on ChinnyVision, I took it back. Got it home, loaded it up, went, this is rubbish, and yeah. Back on the 64, it's level 3 and nothing's changed. And annoyingly on the 64, the planes start really close to you, so the enemy plane is already in view, and he's just rotating around in space like it's... just... Yeah. I think Crash gave this something in the region of 55%, which I think is over generous. On the Specky, we've completed level 3 and it's mission 4. 1 life left. I've killed many enemies. Enemies of America. I'm now expecting on level 4 to be shot straight out of the sky by the computer. Yeah, we can see each other. We've both got missiles locked on. Right, okay, both fired missiles. I've got him, but I've still got a missile after me. I fired my flare. And you do need to vary your speed as well because of the physics-defying properties of this. So you can just basically slow completely down and be really close to the... It just doesn't... You know how combat in Elite is quite good? And this just isn't. They want this badly to be like Elite, and it just doesn't get anywhere near it. Oh, I've shot him again. Still got a missile after me. Right, find the next one. I mean, the combat's better than, say, I don't know, Spitfire 40. But on Spitfire 40, you've got an idea of where the sky is, where the land is, where there's landmarks and stuff. And okay, the sprites kind of stay very small, whereas you get nice close-up vector graphics on this. And that's level 4 complete, mission 4 complete on the Specky. And we're taking off again. Oh, I see. Right, the 1 point thing at the top is my max speed. That's it, how fast I'm going. Because, of course, at Mach 2, you'd be... just don't overthink this. Don't overthink it. I've been hit. No lives left. That's game over. We'd better go back to the ST. So if you do download the automation version of this, it does appear to be corrupted. I've tested a version, someone else tested a version, and it just has a pink screen and a slightly faulty loading screen. Although some people are running on emulators on YouTube and it's fine, so I don't know, but on my ST it didn't work, and someone else tested another image they downloaded on Steam and that didn't work either. Anything to avoid talking about this game. I haven't even mentioned I could call people Goose and Maverick and Angle Grinder and Angle Poise and and what have you. And while I'm bored, remember to check out the ChinnyVision Discord, the Twitter, and ChinnyVision mugs available, travel mugs available at ChinnyVision.com. Not endorsed by Tom Cruise or the Scientology movement. Player 1 is dead. Bad luck. Bad luck if you'd bought this. Top Gun, an iconic movie, the poster, Maverick, Goose, all that stuff. And it's on your home micro. Well, there's limited 2-player fun here for sure. If you've got a friend, then you could have head-to-head Maverick and Goose action. On a rather limited, I'm not even going to call it a flight simulator, because it isn't. However, against the computer, you're going to get bored pretty quick. There is the novelty of the split screen display, but all of these versions are just very limited games. The thing is, although Elite was a space trading and combat game, it set the standard for vector graphic based combat. And this doesn't even come near. At least the Spectrum and Amstrad versions move pretty snappily, although the physics are basically non-existent. You don't even get the sky and the land. The C64 version is needlessly jerky and slow. All three play equally badly and equally repetitively, and there's not much here against the computer. And other than an ever-increasing level of enemy combat, one-on-one, that is it. There is no more variety than having a missile shoved at you a little bit quicker each level. The Atari ST version is appalling, it's laughable. Goodness me, Ocean put this out for a state-of-the-art 16-bit computer. It's basically the same as the Amstrad version, except with a better frame rate. They haven't even put in the land and the sky or anything else. Nothing else at all. The final insult is that blocky, horrible font on the Player 1 is dead screen. This thing is just lazy, awful, and people paid full price for this. Luckily, Ocean turned the corner with their movie conversions, and this isn't as bad as Knight Rider, which they'd put out a year or so before. But it's still pretty poor on the 8-bits and unforgivingly appalling on the Atari ST. Feel the need for speed? Well, quite frankly, I just feel like a little bit more is needed in a full-price computer game than what we've got here.